Hey there, Mark Brown. We've never really talked about this. Pain points.
Ouch. You see what I did there?
I saw what you did there. Nice callback. We are going to go deep in the power and the purpose of pain points. This is going to be interesting.
Anyone can give a presentation. Few deliver unforgettable presentations. What's the difference? You're about to find out. Welcome to the Unforgettable Presentations Podcasts with your hosts, world champion speakers and coaches Mark Brown.
Your life tells a story, and there's someone out there who needs to hear it.
And Darren LaCroix.
Stage time.
Ready for some powerful presentation ahas? Let's dive right in.
All right, Mark, I just gave a keynote for, I believe the event planner told me 800 contractors in Vegas at Caesars Forum. So, but here's the key and why power and purpose of pain points matter. So listen to this and see if you can figure out what I did and why we're talking about this based on what people said after I spoke. Check it out.
Oh, I absolutely loved watching Darren LaCroix speak. He customized everything. He had been at this conference for a couple days, meeting people, talking to people, figuring out what all our pain points were, and then he just rolled it beautifully into his presentation. So he was connecting with every contractor in the room, and it was just amazing. His words were inspiring, and he really got us kind of going out there after exactly what we can do and what we can do right now.
And I just heard Darren speak at Service World Expo, and it was literally life-changing.
I think he was definitely by far the best speaker at this event. And the way in which he told the story and interviewed everyone here this whole weekend and got to understand the community, the crowd, and then tying in specific stories of the people into the speech and then talking to them in real time. You don't see speakers come and he was throwing up content of things that happened yesterday in his speech today. I've never seen that in my entire life. Like, where did he have the time to get pictures and edit all this stuff into his speech? Like, it's a lot of genuine care.
I haven't seen anybody ever be able to draw from other speakers that we had over the week. And he brought all of those into his speech, and it just really made it more memorable and made it so like it was more relatable. His 17 minutes is something that we're implementing into our life now, and I can already tell it's going to be a game changer for us. So if you have a chance to listen to Darren, take it. You won't regret it. Fantastic.
Yeah, buddy. Proud of you, man.
So, Mark, I think next week we'll talk about customizing because that's a whole different thing that they talked about. But, Mark, what was your insights from listening to the after comments?
Well, the first commenter talked about the fact that you knew what their pain points were. And it was interesting how all three testimonials pointed to the fact that you invested the time to go in early, meet people, talk to people, find their pain points, address them, interweave true stories of real people who were there, and integrate that. But the first speaker really stuck out because he specifically said, you knew what the pain points were, you knew how to address them. And the last speaker said, your 17 minutes becomes part of their routine now, which means your content addressed their pain points, made them change the way they do their business. And that, to me, really speaks to the power and the purpose of understanding the pain points. Here ended the sermon.
Well, it's where they live. It's the thing that's top of mind for the audience. And I've said this before, but I'll keep saying it. I believe it's our responsibility to connect our content to their world. But their pain points are their triggers. Their pain points are what gets them to sit up and listen and take note. Oh, He knows us. So Mark, I
Right.
really want to talk about customizing because that's a different subject related to this subject. So join us next week. And if you're listening to this the day this is released, join us tomorrow. Chris McGuire and I are, is it I or me? I always get tripped up.
I will work for you.
Chris McGuire and I are doing a program called Connect Quickly with Any Audience. And then Mark and I are doing one in December, which is creating your keynote called Unforgettable Presentation. So we're going to walk you through the process. That's coming up in December. So if you listen to this, you want us to hold your hand and walk you through the process, go to stagetimeworkshops.com. And we'll walk you through the process. And again, if you're listening to this because you listen to our podcast, you can use the discount code POD, POD25, and get 25% off either one of those events. So November event, Connect Quickly, December event, Unforgettable Presentations. But what really worked was understanding their pain points. And I got to say, I knew this, but it was Chris McGuire who really got me to say, look, you got to find them, but also use their language of what they call it, because a pain point is a pain point is a pain point, but I might get what it is, but if I'm not using their language, I'm missing the mark. Mark?
I see what you did there.
Boom.
And the key is using their language. We have a responsibility to not just deliver the content we have invested years of our lives to generate. That is our expertise. But as Darren said, it's our responsibility to connect our content to their world. And not only that, but to connect to their world with an understanding of what's important to them at that time. As Darren said, we'll talk about customizing next time. But the idea is, what steps can you and I begin to take before we even get there to understand the pain points of the audience? And Darren, I think I mentioned this to you several episodes ago, maybe 2 years ago, an engagement I had with in the agricultural space many years ago, in the ag space, we say in Georgia. And I had been in contact with the CEO over several weeks planning the event. It was booked, it was signed, I had my flights, my hotel, everything was taken care of. And the week before the event, I checked in with the CEO and could not reach him. I got to the event a day early and talked to the event coordinator, who told me the board had made a decision to remove the CEO that week.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking about how to be your best and excellence and motivation. But I had to be aware in the moment, ask some questions to find out what the pain point was. What did his removal mean to the people on the ground, to their teams, to those farmers, to those agriculturalists? What did it mean in terms of the vision that he had that they now have to suspend? So I had to think, okay, Mark, talking about excellence now, but what is the pain point you need to address? We can discuss how the customization took place, but the idea is I couldn't stick to my guns. Well, I worked on this. I invested hours and hours on this. I was paid to do this. No, I was paid to serve that audience. I'm going to say it again. I was paid to serve that audience. And if you are turning professional, you are being paid to serve the audience. You are hired for your experience, expertise, personality, style, all of the above. But bottom line, your responsibility, your job is to serve your audience. And one way to understand how to do that is to identify and address their pain points.
Well said. And here's the key. Understanding and knowing their pain points is the power of connecting, and the purpose is to make a deep, lasting impact. Now, pain points change sometimes over time. Mark, I remember I spoke to an insurance company early in my career in the 90s, way before the championship. And I used to do custom humor. And I would always ask them and call them up ahead of time, what are your pet peeves? What are your frustrations? What frustrates you? And now those are seemingly the same question, but I would ask all three, interviewing people ahead of time to get to what is top of mind. When you can connect with their top of mind, you're connecting more deeply. They're looking for answers. And this one insurance company, they were paving the parking lot. So all of the employees who I was speaking to had to walk like a mile from where they had to park. You know, it was temporary, but it was top of mind, and it was a frustration, and it showed I cared. You know, it showed my empathy, my taking the time and understanding. But we say connect our content to their world, but more purposefully, we need to connect our content to their pain points. And Mark, as you're talking, I'm gonna look up my slides in the background here to talk about what their pain points were.
So like you said here, our job is to connect our content not only to their world, but to their pain points. Connect our content to their pain points. And again, Darren, you talked about the process of doing that. I'm not going to dive too deeply into the process. Maybe we should later, but the idea is it's about our mindset going in. I said earlier, we have worked hard diligently to prepare what we want to share with the audience. Great. That's perfect. We should do that. But going in, we should always have our antenna up, because Darren says pain points change, and they change very quickly. In the story I just told, true story, they had a serious pain point that happened that very, very week. These things happen in the corporate world. So our antenna needs to be up, because if our antenna is not up, we may miss an opportunity to not only serve them and serve them well, but to prove to them, as Darren's 3 testimonials just showed, to prove to them that you are invested in their success, invested in understanding them, and with that understanding, invested in serving them and giving them value.
Well said, Mr. Brown. So for these contractors, in doing my research, trustworthy team. Look, their team are going into people's homes at a very challenging time in their life, because they might already have financial challenges, and now their pipe bursts, and now their electrical system's sparking. So now you've added, it's people's lives are stressful anyway. Now you just up the stress level. So not only is it important to have reliable people who will show up, but also you're going into someone's home and you have to talk to someone when they're like, they don't want to hear what the price is going to be to fix it. But anyway, so their pain points I discovered were trustworthy team, freedom from the grind. Think about it. These are contractors. People are calling them 24/7, even on weekends. There is no downtime per se. I even used that as one of the jokes, one of the custom humor that I created. I said day off means is a Latin term that means so a lot of them are run by couples. So a lot of their spouse is their business partner. So I said, again, tying into their pain point, one of my jokes that Chris McGuire wrote for me was day off is a Latin term that means arguing about your business in sweatpants. So freedom from the grind, a business to sell or pass on. They're contractors, so they are the business, just like us as speakers, Mark. Like, ain't nobody wants to see a 90-year-old motivational speaker with a walker. So how do I pass this on? And a lot of them, you know, they're trying, this is one of their pain points. And then one more was consistent, reliable cash flow. So these are some of the pain points. Now, what I'll say to you to do this right is, yes, of course, a lot of people use ChatGPT. It's a great place to start. I mean, we have a process that we go through that goes much deeper, but it's one thing that you could do is ask ChatGPT. Now, you also need to, I always ask to interview people ahead of time, because I want to ask the real people who are out there doing it. And I want to ask the event planner as well. So you want to not just research their pain points, but confirm. Mark, write that down. Confirm. Research and confirm their pain points. Again, listening for the language.
Yeah.
But now, how does that tie to them? The speech, the keynote that I gave was 17 minutes to your dream. So if their dream is to pass on their business, which honestly, when I got booked for this, I didn't think of, what do they dream about? But obviously, as I started, once I was booked, I was like, I wonder what contractors dream about. So I asked the event planner, I got some ideas, but I did more research and I went deeper. But then when I got there, now this particular audience, I wasn't able to interview ahead of time, but I was the closing speaker. So I went for 2 days beforehand to try and connect it. So, and Mark, I love using real life examples. I just think the specificity helps. And I sincerely hope it helps you, the listener, these examples and ideas. But I didn't know what they dreamed about, but ask. I asked one guy in the hallway, we'll talk about Travis next week, about what his dream was. And it was a big, crazy, ridiculous dream. And anybody in the audience would have known that. But it's his dream, not your dream. And his dream connected to those pain points as well. So look, don't take this lightly and don't just quote unquote mention them. Here's the key, Mark, in my opinion. To truly connect, you must understand their pain points. Not just know what they are, but understand their pain points. And I also got to know, walking into it, that not everyone has a multi-generational business. So that's why, I asked, raise your hand if you want to pass your business on, either sell it or pass it on to your kids or grandkids. So now I'm talking to them, but everyone else gets it because they understand. So I'm not trying to pretend everybody's doing this, but notice the language I use, raise your hand if. I didn't say how many of you, which is audience language rather than one-on-one language. Mark?
Yeah, and I know we're digress, but you're right. The how many of you, first of all, that in my mind results in a number. But raise your hand if you're asking the audience to do something. It's a verb, an action. Raise your hand, which means you identify with it. And then now you can address them on a personal level. So that's kind of a sidebar. But I want to go back to what you said, Darren. To truly connect, you must understand. I hope you all caught what Darren said. He went beyond that. To truly connect, you must understand. But in the example from his real life experience recently, what happened was those who weren't in that particular experience, who weren't in that particular situation, they also were able to understand those who were not like them. Those who didn't want to build a legacy and pass it on. They understood the dream of those who did. So what Darren did, and I really appreciate this, Darren, is not only did you touch on their pain point, you gave everybody in the audience the opportunity and a reason to connect with their fellow contractors who may be in a different space in their life or a different situation. And by doing that, they now feel a closer bond with each other as a result of what you did. Friends, I hope you caught this. The power and the purpose of the pain point, Darren harnessed that, addressed a segment of the audience, but was able to create community with the entire audience because his attempt to truly understand was passed on to those in the audience who also didn't understand. And he helped foster a stronger relationship within the association. And I don't know how that looks, but I'd be curious to find out from those who attended, what did they learn from their peers who were in a different situation? That's the power of understanding the pain point and addressing it in a way that you don't just serve a particular demographic, but you serve everybody in the audience. And that's powerful. Please don't miss the power of that.
Yeah, and it's also the importance of the community, knowing that you're not alone. That is and connecting to that. Mark, one of my favorite little lines is, do you know, or does anyone remember Rudolph? Any Rudolph fans? And then I say, well, you guys are a little different, but you have so much in common. Welcome to the land of misfit toys. You know, and it's true. This is the only place in the world where you can talk to somebody in the hallway who can either understand or directly relate to exactly what you're going through. You know, we go to a speakers association, part of NSA, the National Speakers Association. We have in the hallways some of the best conversations if we're willing to be open and transparent. Like, you know, this happened to me. This happened to me. I mean, I had some challenges in a recent keynote, and I needed to talk to somebody who would get it to help me know how to cope with a specific situation with a client. So, because I didn't know that it was a new situation. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'd never had this happen. So that's another podcast. But anyway,
yes.
The power and purpose of pain points. Make no mistake, if you really, really, really want to impact your audience, you must understand their pain points. Otherwise, you're not connecting your content to their world. You're not connecting your content more specifically to their pain points. So 17 minutes to your dream is doing at least 17 minutes a day. But what is that doing? You know, I needed to figure that out. And, you know, I love that last testimonial from Mr. Abbott there, who has Heritage Plumbing here in Las Vegas. When I got to have coffee with him and his son, it was like
nice.
Really cool to hear that he's applying it. But it's our job to not just take our ideas, like we're motivational speakers, like it's rah-rah, but rah-rah makes us feel good. But without the accountability and the next steps, it goes away, you know? So Mark, final thoughts on purpose and power of pain points.
Well, I really appreciate this because it occurred to me, I spent a large portion of my career talking to middle school kids, ages 12, 13, and 14. And without deliberately saying, I want to understand the pain points of middle school kids, I very early on, I'm talking 1990s, began sharing the stories of myself as a little kid in the 5th and 6th and 7th grade. And it has become an immediate point of connection with middle school kids from the 2000s, when my story will bring me back to 1971 and 1972. But they still understand that I know what it's like, because that was a pain point I experienced, one that they have, for which schools actually hire me to talk about this, but immediately understanding what that pain point is, and it looks different. Listen, schools and kids having difficulty in relationship may manifest in different ways in 2025 than in 1971, but the principle, the concept, and the experience and the pain is universal. And I say that to ask you, to invite you not to disregard the seasons of your life. You may have experiences from your childhood, from your youth, school, college, early working career, perhaps when you first got married, your first time parenting. All of these seasons of your life may contain experiences that directly relate to the pain points of your audience. So my exhortation to you is to explore the vast width, breadth, height, and depth of your life, to identify areas in which your experience can connect to their pain point. And then they will respect you, they'll admire you, they will connect with you, and chances are they just might listen to you and do what you say.
Nice. And Mark, I want to add one caveat. So what Mark said, talking to middle schools, these days, Mark's connecting his experience to their experience, the emotional connection on
Correct.
that. And I don't know if you do this or not, Mark, every school also has its quote unquote favorite teachers, also has its school building challenge. You know, there's this
culture
always leaks or whatever, or this room always leaks, or there's a drip in the gymnasium. So now you do have that commonality that Mark knows, but every school you go to, there's a little bit of custom that if you ask the right questions, you could find out who's that favorite teacher everybody loves. I ask, who's the mentor? Who's the master mentor of that group that I can connect with, have a conversation with, and then hold them up? I also connect with who are the first timers. Well, we'll talk about this next week. Join us next week for customizing. This is about power and purpose of pain points. It is our responsibility to dig them out, find them, and understand them. We will see you next week.
After decades of coaching, we know that the biggest challenge most presenters face is not getting the quality of feedback they need to be unforgettable. If you're serious about receiving world-class feedback to become unforgettable, you can get 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 coaching from us by visiting getaspeakingcoach.com. You can also join us for ongoing training to elevate your skills at stagetimeuniversity.com, where we help good presenters become unforgettable.
Remember to subscribe, because if you miss a week, you miss a lot.
If you're going to take the time to prepare a presentation, make it unforgettable.
And thank goodness for Darren and Mark. I couldn't have done it without them. They're your partners the whole way. They go above and beyond.
It was so good to be coached by Darren and Mark. So having these two coach me elevated my delivery and elevated the power of my story.
It's been really, really amazing to go through this process with Darren and Mark. For me, I had never done anything like this, and the entire process was really, really amazing.
Thank you, Darren and Mark.
It was powerful. Whether you're a keynote speaker, emerging executive, or a seasoned pro, duo coaching will make you unforgettable.